disaster struck the Philippines last month when a typhoon ravaged the country, flattening houses, destroying crops, and killing 58 people. More than 300 villages were submerged as a result of Typhoon Kopu, and $140 million worth of crops, infrastructure, and homes were demolished. 5,000 houses and 250 schools were completely destroyed by winds. The United Nations praised the Philippines government for its rapid and preemptive response to Kopu, suggesting that its handling of the disaster should act as a model for other disaster-prone countries. While the extreme weather-prone Philippines experiences approximately 20 typhoons per year, the country has made great strides in disaster risk reduction since 2013's Typhoon Haiyan, which took more than 6,300 lives. Our focus this week is on the Philippines.
Hello and welcome to our weekly focus. I am Tal Heinrich. Usually when international media headlines turn their spotlight to the Philippines, it is because of some severe weather conditions. We all remember Typhoon Haiyan from November 2013. A year later, it was the turn of Typhoon Hagupit, and a week and a half ago, Typhoon Kopu took the lives of more than 50 people. So what is it like living under such a constant weather threat? Let's refer this question to the spokesperson of the city of Makati, from the municipality, Mr. Gibo de los Reyes. Hello, sir. Thank you for being with us.
Yes, ma'am. It's a pleasure to speak with you.
So tell us, Gibo, how is it to live under such a constant fear of storms?
First of all, ma'am, Makati City is considered as the premier city of the country, where it is host to top 1,000 corporations in the Philippines, and we are considered as the backbone of the Philippine economy. We see to it that we are always prepared and disaster resilient at all times.
And how is this affecting the daily lives of the people in the Philippines?
You know, Filipinos are resilient. If any typhoons hit us hard, we always triumph by unity and helping each other, especially those who are hit the most affected by disasters.
Thank you so much for this interview, Gibo. And the UN has praised the Philippines government for its preparedness for Typhoon Kopu, suggesting that its handling should act as a model for other disaster-prone countries. Joining us now is Jerry Velasquez, Chief of Section Advocacy and Outreach at the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction. So how can one actually handle such a nature disaster?
It's not handling the natural disaster, it's preparing for it. And in this case, the Philippines have had, as we know, every year 20 typhoons that crosses its path every year. But ever since the calamitous Haiyan in 2013, the Philippines have improved a lot of the preparedness work that it has been doing ahead of disasters. And in this case, it has prepared, one, early warning, second, communicating the risk that the typhoon is going to cause and acting on it even before the disaster strikes.
Jerry Velasquez, we really appreciate you being with us today.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thousands of children in the Philippines are working in dangerous underwater gold mines, according to a recent report released by the Human Rights Watch. The report documented the stories of 65 of these child miners, some as young as 9-year-olds, who have suffered adverse health effects from their work in these mines. Let's break this down with Carlos Conde from the Human Rights Watch, who's now joining us from Manila. Hi, Carlos. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Describe to us, what do these children actually do in the mines, and how does their daily life look like?
Well, there are three things that they do in the gold mines. One is to dig out ore to turn into gold from these tunnels. The other is to dive into tunnels underwater to dig out more ore. And then the other thing that exposes them to danger that they do every day is to process these ore and then burn them using mercury. These three types of work for these children exposes them to all sorts of danger, particularly the handling of mercury. Now, this is the sort of child labor that they do every day in these provinces, in many areas in the Philippines, and it is quite disturbing to see them go into tunnels and also dive underwater for ore and also burn this mercury, and in the process inhaling all of this toxic poisonous gas.
And besides raising the international awareness of their condition, how can the Human Rights Watch help these children?
There's certainly a lot of that. Our advocacy campaign now in relation to this report is to talk to government officials, both on the local and national level, to try to bring to their attention the problem. And we have, in fact, done that when we launched the report. We've gotten commitments from the Department of Labor, for instance, that they will look into this problem and enforce some solutions. We have also spoken and met with the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, which is responsible for these mining areas, and that they too have committed to take action. Now, it may take a long time for these actions to bear fruit on the ground, but we are heartened that the government has promised to step in.
Carlos Conde, thank you so much for sharing with us these important details.
Thank you so much, Tal, for having me.
And now let's see what else is going on in the Philippines.
The White House announced that United States President Barack Obama will attend the Asian Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit next month in the Philippines. This will be Obama's second trip to the Philippines in over 2 years. There's talk that Obama wants to play basketball with Filipino children if time will allow, but there is no official confirmation about this supposed request. Manny Pacquiao is known for being one of the best boxers on the planet, but he's also a professional basketball player in the Philippines for the Mahindra Enforcers. Pacquiao scored his first basket of his professional basketball career Sunday when he exploited a weak defense and fired off a shot that resembled a slingshot. French marine energy company Sabella and Filipino developer H&WB Asia Pacific have signed a memorandum of agreement to establish a 5-megawatt tidal power project to the Philippines. The plant is a proof of concept project and a first for the country, according to the developers, who also hold additional rights to ocean energy service contracts in their nearby regions. Thousands of Filipinos visited cemeteries on the weekend and communed with their loved ones to mark All Saints' Day. Crowds jostled for room as they camped out by tombstones to pay respect to their dead in the yearly Christian celebration that calls on believers to remember those that have passed. All Saints' Day, coupled with All Souls' Day on November 2nd, pays homage to the Christian saints and the souls of the dead. From the spooky to the adorable, Philippine pet owners and their furry companions dressed up for an annual Halloween pet show in Manila. Participants donned matching costumes with their pets, from bridal gowns to vampires and goblins. The annual Halloween pet show aimed to strengthen bonds between owners and their pets, as well as increasing awareness of animal rights.
More than 1 million Filipinos leave their homeland every year to work abroad through overseas employment agencies and other programs or initiatives. Many of them, mostly women, apply to be domestic helpers and caregivers. Currently, according to the Philippine Statistic Authority, more than 10 million Filipinos work overseas. And our next guest is Ted Pascua, Deputy Director General at the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, which prepares Philippine workers for their overseas experience. And Ted, obviously the Philippine migration of workers is a result of the state of economy in their homeland. Can you put this in perspective for us?
Well, there definitely has to be a study, an in-depth study to see how this all began. But as far as I know, this issue of human resource migration began way back in the 1970s. And it was in the area of construction that most of our human resource or Filipino workers began migrating to the Middle East. And that grew as the years went by, not necessarily because of perhaps the fluctuating economic situation in the country, but perhaps it would be more because of the more stable development and opportunities that are available abroad.
And what kind of preparations and skills does a caregiver need to acquire before going to work abroad?
Caregiving is basically under technical education. That is our institution, TESDA, and we offer caregiving course which would minimum amount to about 6 months study and practice. They are more concerned on the ability, the competency to be able to take care of other people, particularly either children or adults, whether with or without any special needs.
What are the concessions that the overseas caregiver has to undertake in order to help other people?
To me, one of the biggest hurdles that a foreign worker would have is to be separated from a culture of a closely knit family situation. So this is the challenge for our foreign workers. The moment they get out, it's the concern, it's the worries, it's the, shall we say, ties that they have with the family that is the most strained as far as the transfer of environment is concerned.
Interesting insights. Thank you so much for this interview.
Thank you very much, Tal, and Toda Raba.
A year ago, the Manila Symphony Orchestra had to look for a new place for rehearsals. After wandering around in the search, the band decided to hold rehearsals publicly so that the passers-by can actually enjoy their world-class music. And what place is more public than the city metro, right? Now, joining us from Manila is Jeffrey Solares, the manager of this orchestra. Jeffrey, what led you guys to this idea of rehearsing in public?
Well, it is a necessity. We used to have a rehearsal hall in a music school, but the school decided that they cannot host the orchestra anymore. So for about 8 months, we were trying to look for an adequate rehearsal space for the orchestra, bringing our instruments all over the metro. Sometimes we would rehearse in a piano store, sometimes in a lobby, sometimes in a school. It depends on the occasion. But at the beginning of this year, one of our board members talked to some people from the Ayala malls, and the malls said, well, we have some space here. The only condition is that you must open some of your rehearsals to the mall goers. So that's the arrangement we have right now.
With the Metro Mall, huh? But if you already, I gotta ask you this, if you already rehearsal in public, what makes your concert special? Why would people want to go to your concert if they can see you just for free?
Well, we have concerts in other venues, in Metro Manila. Metro Manila is a very big place. The rehearsals are actually not that often. I don't think it discourages people from coming to the real concerts.
Okay, and what kind of reactions do you often get from passers-by in the City Metro Mall?
It depends. Actually, we really, this is not ideal for us, you know, because really music making for classical music is different. It's very delicate. We really need a proper rehearsal venue where we can hear ourselves, all the nuances. You know, it takes a lot of training for us to reach certain level of performance. It requires us to buy very expensive instruments, and this is lost in places where it's not really designed for concerts.
Yeah, we can definitely imagine that. To what extent is the Filipino audience fond of classical music?
I guess it has the same status as other countries outside the Philippines, abroad. You know, the Philippines, although we're in Asia, we've been exposed already to Western culture for a long time. The Spaniards were here for 300 years, and the Americans stayed for 50 years. And our culture is slightly different from the rest of Asia. We have been exposed more, for example, than Japan or China to Western music. But the infrastructure we have right now, especially in terms of orchestras, concert halls, or the training in Western music, is not as advanced, because these things also require economic development. and somehow we are still struggling with that. And so classical music is the same. It's a struggling industry in my country.
Jeffrey, your initiative sounds amazing, but we really hope you will find a home to your orchestra. And thank you so much for this interview. And thank you all for watching our Focus on the Philippines. Be sure to catch us again next week with another focus on another very interesting country. In the meanwhile, we will leave you with the beautiful sounds of the symphony from the Manila Orchestra.